Okay, so today we're going to look at teaching vocabulary. We are looking at this from the point of view of RDPT and how we can use this tool to help. But this is really for all teachers and teaching a few of the simple techniques you can do to pre-teach and help your students learn vocabulary, whether they're SEN students, EAL students, or they're students with dyslexia, dyspraxia. These are all techniques really designed to help you when they encounter new vocabulary. So imagine the arduousness of reading in a language you do not understand with words of exceptional lexical complexity. Okay, so admittedly I've picked the most difficult words I can think of off the top of my head. And you know, as a teacher, we sometimes think those are easy words, but they're not. And this was one of the problems I had when I could see from some of my tutors, was that they were having difficulties with certain lessons, that they had lots and lots of words. And this tool really helps you to straight away see that, look at those difficult words. And then you can highlight those difficult words, and you may choose to say, well, actually, I really could simplify these because they're not that important to learn. So that's one choice, is to simplify the words and make them a bit easier to do. The other thing is, for those words that are a bit more difficult, you might just say, well, they're not super important, but people should just be able to look them up in a dictionary. And then finally, you might want a title. And so if you want a title, you might want to check your words as you're going along, make sure that they're in the simple vocabulary lists. And finally, for your planning, you can have a lovely spreadsheet that really helps you with all the definitions and synonyms. And this gives you a real head start when you're planning a new lesson. And so hopefully, you've already grabbed the reading difficulty power tools, but if not, please do go and do that. And this is really to help you with the next steps.
So firstly, we need to download the tools. You can get it from here, but most people click on Open the Beta. It will now ask you to make a copy. And once you've done that, you will see the guide, including the Install Me. It does take a few seconds for the tools to appear. It's just appeared just now. Sometimes this can take 30 seconds to a minute, depending on your internet connection, etc. But what I need to do now is, I haven't quite installed them yet. I need to click About RDPT. And it's going to ask for authorization. So I press Continue. I click my name. Now, this is still in beta, so Google hasn't verified this. We need to go to Advanced, and then we need to click Go to Reading Difficulty Power Tools. These are the accesses I need just to allow me to make new spreadsheets and adjust documents. Says authorization is successful, so I just have to click on it again and the tools should now be fully operational. Fantastic. Now the About RDPT tools is useful because that's got all the instructions. Once you've done that, you can delete what you want to delete and copy and paste into this document. I highly recommend bookmarking this particular document so that you're not forever having to install the tools. Let's have a quick look at something that's important to me. I have a dream, and it's an amazing speech. It is also a speech that requires quite a lot of difficult vocabulary, but it's one you don't want to change. So let's use this as an opportunity to play with the tools a bit. Let's first see how difficult this speech is. So click the difficulty guide. And you will see that unaided, it requires an age 4 to 16. Now 14 to 16 means the average student will understand every word. So it's a high standard required, but it shows the help that could be provided. So let's do something to really help those students. The first thing I can do is highlight low frequency words. Okay, that's going going to help. It's giving you a lot of the vocabulary there to help you along. And the second thing we can do is we can add a word table, a low frequency word table. Okay, that's going to help a lot. Thanks to our new dictionary, you've actually got most of the words in there. There's a couple of words that are not in there, a couple of states and things that will need to just be added if those are things that your students don't know. US students probably know the names of their states already, for instance. Now, if you want to do more detailed planning, you can create a sheet of the low frequency words, or if you want to show, because perhaps you're in an observation, that you've done a thorough analysis of this text, you can create the full set. Let's create the low frequency words now. Okay, it's created a spreadsheet for us. We click on the Google Sheet, and those are all the words. Not only do you get the part of speech, the definition, you get synonyms you can look up, images from the Noun Project, and the Ngram if you're more interested in linguistics. So you can see all of that there is there to help you. In addition to which, when you're teaching, sometimes it's useful to have a word cloud. So you can click on a word cloud here. This is supplied by ZingChart, and you can see all the keywords are there for you and available. If you press the right button, you've got a few more options. You can download a PDF, SVG, a few other things, view as a PNG. This is provided by ZingChart. But what we can do then is copy the image and put it straight in there, just with a quick paste. The other main tools we provide are a doc word list, document low frequency words, which I think is useful. So you can see all the low frequency words in a tablet. And finally, if you would like to do something for English, you can highlight nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. They do need a little bit of checking because they're automated, but hopefully all of those tools are really there to help you and help make your lesson planning a lot quicker and easier
in teaching. So, what is most important? Rich vocabulary, high frequency words, or authentic materials? You might want to pause the video at this point, have a little think, make sure you're clear about what is important to your classroom. Of course, they're all important for one reason or another. It was one of those classic tricks we do in EAL to start a conversation. So rich vocabulary, the ability to say what they mean, understand a wider variety of texts, ability to grasp ideas, power of persuasion, make a good impression on others. So rich vocabulary is something we do want to be building, and we have to understand if it is a really important word and something we want the students to really learn, in which case we should definitely be pre-teaching it. High frequency words, these are words that they should be able to recognize instantly, and if you're dealing with EAL learners, this is probably where you're getting your focus at right now, is building those high frequency words. Lots of recycling of vocabulary, using the same words again and again. The spreadsheet that my tool does will help you to do that and to help you with that recycling if you need to make new materials. And then authentic materials, realia. The main advantage of using real objects or authentic text in the classroom is to make the learning experience much more memorable for the learner, but also to bring it from their life, to bring things that they use. So let's have a look at this realia. So here are some pieces of text. Some are realia, some are not. Let's have a look at this. Would you cherish, change, or chuck? In other words, would you keep this as is? Would you change it to make it simpler, or is it just not worth keeping? Give you a couple of seconds to think about that. Okay, so here's what I would do. These all depend on the situation. I did have a student with a peanut allergy, so it was really, really important that they could look through these very difficult texts on the back of ingredient lists. You might say, actually, I probably don't need this. I'm just teaching a bit of cooking or a bit about food. But using that realia is really powerful. The I Have a Dream speech is really, really important. It's culturally an iconic speech for the US. So if you are teaching history, I think it's very important to cherish it and teach the important vocabulary. But there might be some vocabulary in there which you can simply leave as context, and you can use a dictionary. Voice of America, this has actually already been simplified, so I think it's fine to go, certainly for an intermediate leader. If it's below that, you might need to change it. The Economist, really nice article here, but the vocabulary is very challenging for younger learners, so I'd probably be looking to change it. Some of you might say, well, actually, no, for younger users, I would chuck that and I would find a simpler article, and that's absolutely fine. This is about thinking and about having a process and learning what is important for your users. So how will we evaluate text? Hey, I'm a computer science teacher. Of course I was going to find a way to put a flowchart in. So, evaluating text. Is the text culturally important? Yes. In which case you want to be pre-teaching that key vocabulary that's difficult? No. But does it have useful vocabulary that students are going to need? Again, you want to pre-teach. Otherwise, you can simplify the vocabulary by taking out those words. Sometimes you do want students to learn from context, and then I think just, giving the students the dictionary lookups is sufficient. So how do we get on with pre-teaching vocabulary? Well, firstly, we look at reading ages, really helpful. We have 2 reading ages supported in IDPT. The Coleman-Liao reading age, which is based on word length. This is one of the most popular ones. The reason I've chosen that is because it's great for machine learning. However, it's not context aware. It doesn't understand the words that are being used. So the Dale-Shaw readability is fantastic, and it gives you a really good idea. Now, the reading age is based on US child to read a piece without any help. So you can see this one is reading age of 12 to 14. You can see there's some difficult words. The majority is beginner elementary. So with a bit of help, I reckon you can get this down to age 8 to 10 without any difficulties. If you are looking at teaching students below age 10, you really need to be looking at the beginner, elementary and intermediate to help you with that and their throw through. So, children of, I'm going to make a rough guess depending on when they begin school, 5 to 8. Beginner elementary words should be the vast majority. As they move in, 7 to 10 intermediate should be more, and then 10 upwards we should be looking at more intermediate. I'm sure you'll get a grasp of that with teaching those ages, because you will know your students better than me, and that's a real rough based on your average child in an average classroom and depending who you've got. But you will soon get a feel for it when you start using this tool more. So, what are some of the methods? Now, if you want a really good method that's going to really teach that important vocabulary, Marzano's 6 steps is great. You explain it in a student-friendly way. You then restate, ask the students to restate in their own words the description, explanation, or example of the word. You might want to use their home language for this if you're familiar with it. That will speed things up. But, if you're teaching in an immersive way, then obviously try and do it in English. Show. Ask students to create a graphic representation of the word. Maybe they want to draw it, a little line art, or maybe they want to use an infographic or a tool to help them. Whatever you students are comfortable making. But this really reinforces it and encourages the students to understand it. Then discuss. Get students to participate in activities that require them to talk about the words. You might use something like the classic find someone who, but get them at least in pairs talking and using what we call the target language. And then refine and reflect. Ask students to go back to their notebooks and discuss the words with a partner or in a small group, and then refine their definition. Get them to note it down as a word that's really important and to reflect and go. And then engage students in learning games that include the work. This is really thorough. This is the gold standard if you want a student to really learn this word. And it's what we call the target language. It might be one of the 5-10 words that you want them to learn. And particularly with beginner, elementary, lower intermediate, this is probably the kind of thing you want to be doing to get those high frequency words in. The Frayer model. I love the Frayer model because it's easy for any teacher to pick up. So you have a word, the definition, you have some examples, you have characteristics, features that help the students to use it, and then non-example, antonyms, opposites, inappropriate applications, relevant illustrations that do not fit the characteristics. So let me give you an example. So we have a word here, battered. The definition is straight from the dictionary. The examples are there for you. Characteristics, sometimes you can use a picture. And then non-examples, aid, assist, build, construct. All of this you can very quickly find for RDPT using the synonyms, using the antonyms, and using the definition and the images courtesy of the Noun project. So Frayer is great. It's quick for teachers to use, and it can be an important word, but perhaps not a word you need to learn inside out. And finally, we look at CCQs. Now, concept checking questions take a while to understand and use as a teacher. Concept questions need to cover every aspect of the meaning of the language item. Concept checking questions shouldn't use the target grammar, and in some cases, absolutely ID, not the language itself. Concept questions shouldn't check the understanding of the language item, not of the situation. You'll see this in a minute. And the questions shouldn't use language which is overly complicated or long-winded or more complicated than the target language. So you can't use repast to teach meal. Yeah, that's not helping matters unless they've come across it before. And concept questions should, where possible, require a simple yes or no or a choice between two possibilities. Now, as I say, they take a while to learn to plan, but they're great once you've got them. So here's some examples. She's just come back from India. Did she go to India? Yes. Did she go a long or a short time? It was a short time ago. If only I'd arrived yesterday. Did I arrive yesterday? No. Do I feel good or bad? Bad. He's over the moon. Is he happy or sad? Happy. Is he a little happy or very happy? Very happy. So CCQs take this. They also really help to reinforce grammar, tenses, timings. So they're really powerful method, and they are, if you are a language teacher, they are really important to help you to teach, and definitely bread and butter of anybody who's done CELTA or teaches English as a foreign language. Marzano's is thorough, most likely to be remembered. Frayer Model is easy to plan and teach, and concept checking questions, they take less classroom time, but more planning time. So those are the three that I would say are really helpful for teaching that more important vocabulary. Thank you very much for listening today. I hope you found this useful, and do stay in touch online on Twitter. I am at ESL Web. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.